John Stockton was ranked 28th all-time in NBA history, according to ESPN. That's just ahead of Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Isaiah Thomas, and James Harden, who directly followed. So, Shannon, did they get this right?
Hell no. If Scottie Pippen ain't got no business in the top 20, ain't no way John Stockton should be in the top 20. Come on, Skip. For real? I mean, look, I get it. Skip, he's the all-time leader in career assists. He played 19 seasons. He played the bulk of those seasons with Mailman. They happen to be the greatest pick-and-roll combination in NBA history. I don't think we'll ever see another pick-and-roll combination. I don't think we'll ever see a tandem that plays together that long, Skip, and have that kind of success. But he benefited from the era in which he played in. The 90s was slow-paced, Skip, a lot of pick-and-roll, and he benefited from that. But he averaged, 13 points for a career. 17 was his high. To say he's better than AI or Harden or Russ, nah, Skip. If Scottie Pippen isn't a top 20 player, ain't no way John Stockton. John Stockton is not a better point guard than Isaiah Thomas. He's not better than AI. He's not better than Russ. He's not better than Harden. So stop this. He unbelievable career. But John Stockton is not a top 30 player in NBA history. No way, no how.
Shannon Sharp, I offer my condolences because you're having a bad day today on Undisputed. You are wrong again. So wrong.
Man,
I told you John Stockton was selected for the greatest collection of talent we've ever seen together, that dream team in '92. He was selected as the backup point guard to Magic Johnson. The alternate behind John Stockton at point guard was Isaiah's teammate, Joe Dumars. Isaiah was viewed as more two than one, more shooting guard than point guard. When it came to distributing and playing defense as a point guard, listen, John Stockton was the baddest little man there ever was. I don't know how many coaches during those years, and I covered those finals, obviously, when it was Utah versus Jordan's Bulls. Coaches always told me that's the toughest little SOB in this league. Shannon,
I'll give you that.
Not only was he an 11-time All-Star, he was 5 times All-Defense, and he set 2 records that I'm pretty sure are unbreakable. Maybe every record was made to be broken, but I don't see these 2 ever being broken. Right now, he has 3,715 more assists than number 2 on the list, Jason Kidd. That's almost 4,000 assists more than number 2, Jason Kidd. And in steals, he's the all-time leader with 581 more steals than Jason Kidd, who's second on the list. Just for context, if we look at assists, John Stockton is 6,500 assists ahead of LeBron James, who's now finishing his 17th year. He's now, John Stockton, 6,200 assists ahead of a pure point guard of this era, Chris Paul, who's played 15 seasons. What he did was extraordinary, and he did it with a co-star who wasn't 7'2". We're not talking about Shaq or Kareem or Wilt. We're talking about Karl Malone at 6 feet 9 inches tall. He was physical. He was a football player. He built like a linebacker, but he was only 6'9". And that Utah team was not deep. It was basically the 1-2 punch with Hornacek as a shooter and Brian Russell trying to guard Michael Jordan.
Skip, you remember that Mark Eaton, who defensive player of the year a couple.
The Bulls were not afraid of Mark Eaton. I can just tell you that. But whatever.
No. The Eaton was gone. Eaton was gone then, Skip.
Okay, all right, okay, but I'm saying
they had Mark Eaton in the 80s.
They were not. That was not a deep basketball team. That John Stockton and Malone were making a force in the West. They had the second best record that year in '98 in basketball, the best record in the West. So they were legit because of those 2 co-stars. But John Stockton at whatever he was, 6'1"-ish maybe. I think they list him at 6'2", but he's 6'1". Remember, he played every game on the schedule 17 times. LeBron has done it one time. So in toughness, mental and physical toughness and value, if we're talking about winning basketball games, yeah, give me John Stockton in pure value, slightly ahead of James Harden and Isaiah and even the great Steve Nash, a back-to-back MVP winner, and Allen Iverson. I'll still take John Stockton because he will help you win as a pure point guard and point guard defender.
Skip, what about Isaiah? Isaiah won 2 championships, lost the 3rd, was finals MVP. You think about that. Now, if Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward, but if there's no Tim Duncan, Karl Malone has that distinction. He's the second leading scorer in NBA history. He has the second most all-NBA selection. Karl Malone, although he was not a 7-foot, Karl Malone was a hell of a player, Skip. He's 2-time league MVP. We know what the mailman represented. And like I said, as far as 1-2 combination, the pick and roll, Skip, we'll never see what they did. We'll never see that again. And I agree with you. I do not believe Stockton's assist record would be broken because the pace, too many guys handle the ball now, Skip. Basically, John Stockton handled the ball. It was pick and roll to Karl Malone, or it was kick to Hornacek, or he dumped the ball down to Eaton. Eaton turns around and dunk it. I don't believe we're going to see another guy. Like you said, he's 4,000 ahead of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has been retired like 7-8 years. So that means Chris Paul is 6,000 assists behind him. Chris Paul's going to need to average, 800 assists for the next 8 years? Do we see Chris Paul play 8 more years? Exactly.
No.
So that record probably not going to be broken, Skip. Skip, I think the thing is, Isaiah Thomas was a 19-9 career guy. And because there's so much bad blood surrounding Isaiah, because I've talked to a lot of players, and they say, man, I hate Isaiah guts, but he was a bad mofo. Pound for pound, you got to say he's one of the bad. He and AI, pound for pound, are the baddest players. He said, but, he a snake now. Now, you can't trust me. He dirty. He do all kind of stuff. But I won't take him being a great player away from him. And I was told that Isaiah, by some of the players that were in the NBA at that time, that Isaiah Thomas should have been on that basketball team. All that aside, Skip.
Magic Johnson.
We understand the chemistry.
Magic Johnson wrote in his book, he just wrote in his book that there was no way anybody on that team wanted Isaiah on that team. Period, end of story. David Robinson said it the other day. He laughed about it. He said there's a thing called chemistry and unity in basketball, and Isaiah wasn't going to fit.
Chemistry is one thing. Nobody ever said he wasn't a great player and didn't deserve to be because of his play. They said it was because of the chemistry. We're talking about strictly play. That's what we're talking about on this list. We're not talking about John Stockton. He was a great kid. He spent all Utah, his wife, he got 5 kids, and yada, yada, yada. I'm talking about play. I'm talking about strictly play.
Yeah, me too.
John Stockton was not a better player than Isaiah. He should not be in front of Harden. He should not be in front of Steve Nash. And he definitely shouldn't be in front of AI. Bull jive. You know what, Skip? Here's another contract I'm tearing up. I got something for you. That's the list, John Stockton in front of those guys. How about that?
I think that's indicative of every argument you've attempted and failed to make on this show. You just tore them all up because you just keep swinging and missing. You should tear up every sheet of notes that you have, and you should fire your researcher, Steve. The great Steve Owens, the Heisman Trophy winner, should at least be suspended for his work today because he let you down.
No, he didn't. I'm going to have a talk with Magic.
I am not going to
need to have a talk with Magic Johnson.
Bus like that. He's working hard. Reprint those notes, Shannon. Come on. Jeez. All right, guys. Johnny Manziel. Well, he narrowly avoided a serious disaster. We've got video. We'll discuss the latest. Johnny Football next.